Well folks, here we are again. We're going to do a little maintenance on the Aprilia RSV4 Factory rear shock. I got a little carried away cleaning this one. Managed to scrub off the ink on the decal, so I might take a look at replacing that. But anyway, what we're going to do first is we are going to remove the spring. Now that it's off the bike, of course, that's relatively easy. I don't know if you can see it or not, but I put a jack under the rear wheel, lifted it up, and then I put jack stands under the frame, and that was enough to allow me to move the rear wheel up and down so I could get the swing arm free enough. And I also pulled off the subframe. It's loose. And then the shock came right out. So let's take a look. What we're going to do first is compress the spring. We're going to do that with these little spring compressors. Simple as that. And then off comes the spring. So I'll clean that up a little, but that can come off too. And then we'll clamp it down. And now what we need to do is, it's actually a really simple mechanism. The only risk is this canister is actually full of, it has a piston in here that can move back and forwards. And on this side of that piston is high pressure nitrogen. I think 150 psi is the standard measurement, and they just use nitrogen to prevent any impurities from the air getting in there, especially moisture. So what we'll do is we will, let's see, I just need to knock this cap off, and I'll get the right tool and I'll be right back. Okay, so we've got the right high precision shock cap removal tool. Okay, so I thought my camera was recording, but unfortunately I missed the step where I pulled the circlip out of this little groove here, so I'll just go back and demonstrate again. This little rubber piece is the membrane that allows you to stick a needle for pressurized gas in. Fill this area here with 150 psi's of nitrogen, which pushes that piston, that's a free floating piston, and it's able to move back and forth in here based on the volume that is displaced by the piston as it moves up and down here. So that is why it is filled with high pressure gas. And just to demonstrate, this cap just pushes in there and is held in place with a circlip right there. For demonstration purposes, it's pretty easy. We'll just pull it out like that, and now what we're going to do is we are going to pull out the main piston. There's a circlip down there as well. There it is. And then we'll pull this circlip out we'll push this little cap down, pull the circlip out, pull the piston out, and then that will allow me to fill the body and the reservoir with new shock fluid. So I might hit pause again just because there's a little bit of cussing involved in getting this little circlip out. So I'll be right back. Okay, so we've got a catch tank to catch whatever leftover shock fluid is remaining. Okay, there we go. Little cavitation going on in there. So that is the much talked about shim stack. Need to get a cloth to clean that up. Okay, so as you can see, this is the end cap, this is the seal, that's the shock head, and that is the shim stack. Each one of those is a very thin metal washer, and oil can flow through this piston, and as it flows it deflects these metal shims, which are really quite stiff. But then when you think about it, there's a lot of force acting on this shock. So although I can't bend them with my fingernail, a little bit of deflection. The simple motion of bouncing up and down on your bike is creating a lot of leverage. So that's what the inside of the Ohlins shock looks like, and this is a bushing just like on a set of forks. There's nice surface, no visible wear. But the oil was definitely in need of a change. This is just the remnants left over. So I will tip this out, and then we'll move this piston back. You can actually see how much it's sucked in just by pulling the piston out. The free-floating piston pulled all the way down because, of course, the vacuum created in here pulled the piston down. So we'll empty out the last of this shock fluid, pull this one all the way down, and then fill it up. It's going to be a bit of a mess, but we've got a catch tank. Okay, I'll be right back. So what we're going to do now is we're going to clamp it up, and we will fill it full of fluid. And then, once it's full, we will put the piston back in. This is a delicate maneuver, and it gets a little messy because, of course, although the fluid can flow past this point here, it's easy to get excess and spill over. So we'll try to be clean. So there we go. Now, the large aim here is to push out all the bubbles. So we're getting a little excess, not too much. I mean a little spillover of excess fluid. And any pushback is going to be from compressed air inside there. So just like bleeding your brakes, you want to make sure that there's no gas trapped in there. But so far so good. And then we'll close it up and I'll bleed out any excess through this bolt right here. Although, you know what, I might just make it a little easier for myself and push this in a bit further. Yeah, so as you can see, for every little bit I push on here, it pushes that piston up. And there's the air coming up. You can see a little bit of dirty fluid still coming out, so I didn't quite get it all out the first time around. And then if I push down, not on the piston but on the cap, it should push the free piston out a little. Make sure that this piston is all the way up. Boy, takes quite a bit of force. And we got our circlip over there. A little bit further down and I can put the circlip in. Still not low enough. Tiny little bit left. Okay, there we go. There. Okay, I've got it in. So we might have a little bit of gas trapped in the body still, so we'll bleed it out. And then that will mean this shock fluid, which is just like engine oil, will have been replaced. Even if it's not being used hard, it does break down over time. So it needs to be replaced just like engine oil, just like fork oil. It breaks down, time to replace it. So we'll just tap this cap in, and we will be about ready to charge it up with nitrogen. So as I mentioned, that's just a needle. I have a tank of nitrogen for my TIG welding needs, and it works just perfectly. So let's get cleaned up and we'll finish off. Okay, so we've hammered the cap down, cleaned it up. There's now oil behind this free floating piston. It's all from here down through there and all the way into here, up, and including past this piston and up to the end cap on the body right there. It's all full of fluid. So what we need to do next is push in this cap, this plug, and this will of course trap air between here and here, but that's not a problem. We'll replace all that with nitrogen tomorrow. I'll just push it in and then squeeze in the circlet, but I will also just replace this because that O-ring was a little messed up. And then take it to work and we'll charge it up, and tomorrow we will reinstall. So more tomorrow.